everyone and welcome. Gears here, and we are back in Meatypack, and today I wanted to discuss with you the second most difficult boss battle in the pack, and that is the Gaia Guardian from Botania. Definitely not as difficult a battle as the Chaos Guardian in Draconic Evolution. The Chaos Guardian is pretty much uh, a standard progression as far as the number of times you wish to repeat the battle. It pretty much starts at an insane difficulty level and gets a little bit more difficult each time you decide to repeat the fight. The Gaia Guardian, though difficult, is definitely a more scalable battle experience, simply by the preparations you have for your arena, the preparations in gear that you have on the player, and believe it or not, even by the number of players that you have on the server at the time of your fight. You can definitely tell by that and little other, or a few other details, excuse me, that the mod Arthur Vasky put a lot of thought into this boss battle. This video will be segmented like my last one. Segment 1 will consist of the introduction, which we're covering now. Segment 2 would be preparations you need for your battle area or arena. Segment 3 will be options and preparation for the player. And segment 4 will be some super spoilers that you could use to basically trivialize the battle in this pack. Should you decide that you've repeated the battle enough times, or you simply don't wish to face the Guardian at maximum difficulty. Each segment will be clearly defined, so you'll know when to stop and start. And that would be the end of segment 1. Segment 2 will begin shortly. Gaia Guardian cannot be located anywhere in the world. This is a boss that you have to summon with a very specific ritual, and that ritual can only be initiated or obtained through progression through the Botania mod. You will need the items here. They are called Gaia pylons, and they can only be obtained through the on the upper tier progression of the mod itself. You'll also need a vanilla beacon with a suitable beacon base. I simply used iron blocks. That, of course, you'll have to either defeat the Wither or be lucky enough to obtain a beacon through chance cubes. The arena battle itself, I call it an arena because it's more or less what it is. I set it up. It's got to be a flat area. I think about either 12 to 15 block radius around the beacon. I've constructed a platform since we are in my Millennium base, but any flat area in any of the dimensions I think will do. Definitely has to be flat and wide. I believe that if you try to initiate the battle and there's obstructions in the way, it's not a completely flat area in the radius I described, the ritual will kick back an error message stating that there's something wrong with your arena area. It definitely has to be this configuration. The configuration of the pylons and the beacon is covered in the Lexica Botania. Super cool item, this book. Definitely covers details about why you want to face the Guardian, what's needed, how to craft the needed pylons, and it even allows you, gives you a method for constructing the arena, covering the materials that you need, plus having a visualization feature, excuse me, that allows you to that gives you a means of constructing or visualizing the area that you need to build. and it's easily undone by, well, either completing the structure or just clicking unvisualize. So definitely a lot of thought for player progression given by the mod author. Once the arena is constructed to specification, all you need then is a terrasteel ingot, only obtainable through progression in Botania. You sneak right click this on the beacon, and that initiates the battle sequence. More details on the battle itself covered later, but I'm about to go into additional preparation. This is the minimum preparation you need to actually initiate the battle. But there is, I guess I'll call this a subsegment of the arena preparation that I'm going into next, that you will want in order to survive the battle. There's definitely some additional preparation that you could help to augment the player that is for the arena, that would help you get through the fight. Now, if you may wish to skip ahead a little bit, but I'm going to go into the preparation now. For additional preparation for your arena, let me just do this quick review on Botania itself. In the mod, there is a mechanic for producing potions that are not too dissimilar from vanilla potions in function, but there are some additional effects that can be obtained through these, plus the Botania equivalents of certain vanilla potions like health and regeneration. Well, quality and frequency of use, if you will, of the potions that you can get through Botania are better, and also a little bit more multifunctional. I'll get into some of that later. However, in addition to brewing certain Botania potions, you can also infuse these potions with an item called incense sticks. And these are items that you can burn in an area, and for starters, they last way longer than just a standard potion, vanilla or Botania. And you can get additional effects, like burning this particular incense sticks will give me resistance. Another will give me regeneration, and another still will give me strength. And these could all be burned at once. I think the downside is that even though they'll probably last way longer than the battle, they work in a wide area, and but once started, I don't believe they can be stopped. So, and to craft them in this fashion, to craft a potion as an incense stick, it takes additional resources and mana from Botania to craft in this state. But once done, you just craft what's called an incense plate. Excuse me. Insert the incense sticks and light them with a flint and steel, and you will have these effects for the remainder of the battle. And you could have, there's more than just these three. I chose 3 particular sticks because I think they're the most helpful in the Guardian fight. But the regeneration one, there's actually another workaround. If you don't want to burn this stick, it lasts 120 minutes, which in reality is way longer than is needed for the battle, I think. There is also another, I think, more efficient method for doing so, which I'm going to cover now. I constructed an additional platform underneath my arena. Here we go. And in it, I have a flower that I crafted called the Fallen Canade. Now, as you notice, these work in a much more limited area than the incense sticks. And what's happened is these flowers They also provide regeneration to players, but in a much more limited area, and they do so at the cost of mana. So I have filled mana tablets here. I could simply fill this mana pool in the central area here under the beacon. I can fill this with mana, and these fallen canades will activate, giving a regeneration to the player, but only in like, I think it's like a 3 or 4 block range. So, and the reason I have them in this configuration is to keep the flowers from getting damaged or destroyed. Plus, I'm not entirely sure that if these flowers count towards the obstruction requirements in the ritual itself. I know that if certain blocks are in the way of the ritual, it will not activate. I'm pretty sure the incense sticks don't count towards that. I believe I've used them in proximity of the beacon base before, and there were no issues. But if you set them up in these configuration, I've set them up directly beneath the pylons for a very good reason, and that is item markers. You see, if I get in trouble in the arena battle, all I need to do is stand near a pylon, and this will give me a boost of regeneration. I believe, don't quote me on this, citation needed, but I believe that if you have a regeneration incense stick going at the same time and you stand near the fallen canade that you have active, I believe these regeneration effects stack. So you could basically, if you are getting pummeled or in a situation where you need additional regeneration, you can basically double up by standing near a pylon during the battle. That, I think, covers all the possible configurations for the arena. The configurations for the player will be covered in the next segment, and that will begin shortly. Now on to player-based preparation for the Gaia Guardian fight. The first armor set you may want to consider for the battle is Mana Steel armor. Mana Steel is the base level armor set in Botania. It's basically iron level protection with one major difference. Any damage taken by Mana Steel armor will be repaired as long as you have adequate mana storage in your inventory, i.e. a mana tablet, a band of mana, or in my case, a greater band of mana, fully charged. Any of those will do nicely. The second level is Elementium-based armor. Now, Elementium armor is basically the same iron level protection as Mana Steel, but with an added bonus. With each piece you wear, there's a chance of spawning these little pixies or fairies that attack for you. They'll attack the enemy, or the enemy that last attacked you. And the chance of spawning these increase with every piece of equipment that you use, i.e. the armor. If you do use the armor set, you may want to also equip the Great Fairy Ring and the Elementium Sword, because those will also increase the odds of the effect, the fairy or pixie effect. Think of how that works is, think of a ranged thorns ability. It sort of works like that. The next level of protection is diamond level protection in Botania, and it is the Terra Steel armor. And just like its super strong armor, and just like its predecessors, will repair itself with adequate mana. That's your first line of defense. For your offensive capabilities, for melee damage, you may want to consider, well, for the Elementium set, of course, the Elementium Sword. There's also the Terra Blade, which, in addition to being a good melee weapon, especially fully enchanted, there's a chance that it could, when swung, spawns this ranged attack as well. It's not 100% of the time. It's a ranged mana burst that occurs every other swing, and that's also good damage. But it's very hard, in details that I'll reveal in the final segment, it's very hard to catch the Gaia Guardian with one of those bursts. But it's still a good effect to have, and is worth carrying this blade for. The other options are, of course, a good Tinker's Sword, which I personally prefer the rapier, even though it's not as high as attack damage as some of the tools you can and weapons you can build. I like the quick strike ability. And you don't have to wait for your enemy to recover. And that's kind of critical when fighting the Gaia Guardian. Again, more details later. Of course, the Force Sword from Full Throttle is also a good weapon as well. Now, uh, ranged attack does not, spoiler here, the Gaia Guardian is immune to ranged attacks. However, there is a phase during the battle that will require ranged weaponry. Or not require, but is, let's just say it's very useful to have some sort of rapid fire or quick recovery ranged battle option. I prefer the a good Tinker's Crossbow leveled up with haste to make it rapid fire. The Draconic Bow or even the Wyvern level bow is also good as well. These weapons, I'll go into detail about how to obtain this weapon. It's a decent ranged ability. It's kind of cumbersome to use during the battle, but still good. This weapon, the Rod of Unstable Reservoir, is actually probably the best ranged weapon that you can use in this fight. But you can't obtain this without at least defeating the Gaia Guardian at least once. More details also to follow on that one. And if you remember in the last segment, I mentioned the ability to craft potions in Botania that are superior to vanilla potions. Some have similar functionality. There's other abilities you can get that you can't get in vanilla. But not only can you get them in potion form like you see over here, you can also get them in, as you saw in the last segment, incense form, which have a longer duration and range. You can also get them in form of what's called a blood pendant. The trade-off for this ability is that it costs mana. If the potion crafting system in Botania works on 3 fronts. I showed you the incense one already, and I showed you these blood pendants. But starting with the incense one, if you infuse your potions with the incense sticks, you get longer duration, but it costs more mana to craft them, and also you only get to use them one time. If you craft them in the traditional potion sense, like I have this instant health and regeneration here, you can use them more. There's actually the flask system in Botania, the entry level one, you get 4 uses out of the potion. With the higher level flask, you get 6, which is good. So you can, with one craft, you can get a potion that lasts you 6 times versus the 1-use potion in vanilla potion crafting. But in this one, in the blood pendant form, it's a constant use item, except you can't get, there's certain ones you can't get, like you can't get instant health in a pendant form. It just won't work. But when you wear the blood pendants, it will give you the potion effect at the cost of your mana. So definitely have a high mana storage available to you. Actually, mana storage and regeneration. You can also get the Band of Aura that will give you mana on the go, which will help recharge this. But definitely you want mana storage, a couple of mana tablets or the Greater Band of Mana. They will work in your inventory as well. And these will give you, these effects will, you can have strength, you can have regeneration and resistance for these 3 that I've crafted. The thing is though, you can only equip 1 blood pendant at the time on your character. So it's actually good, depending on what kind of battle experience you want, it may be good to vary up what you use. You may want an incense stick or two for one effect. You may want one of the blood pendants on for the other effect. And for the remaining effects that you want on your character, you may just want to rely on flask. And these two flasks that I have crafted here, you can't get these in pendant and incense form anyway. So instant healing and absorption can only be obtained through these as well. But you also, there's other items you can carry with you that's not in the mod to assist. Like your traditional notch apples will give you a variety of effects. The jeweled apples as well from Tinker's Construct. And for those who don't know, the heart canisters that you get as drops, the red ones and the yellow ones, the player can, you may not be aware, but the player can eat these for instant health. Both the red ones, they give you some health. I think the yellow ones fill up your heart containers or give you 10, I can't remember. But having a few of these on hand to eat for instant health can aid you in battle as well. So that's also something to consider. Now, that pretty much does it for all the personal equipment that you can put on your character to prepare for the battle. You don't have to have all of these, obviously. You can vary them up how you see fit. You know, exchange pendants, not have some abilities. The whole precept with this battle is in this mod and in this pack. The battle experience is highly configurable. It can be as difficult or as easy as you want it to be. Now, in the final segment, I will reveal everything you need to basically trivialize the battle. If you employ the equipment that I intend to show you in the next segment, it will only be a matter of time before the Gaia Guardian falls. So, with that, this is the end of the third segment. The final segment will begin shortly. Now, on to the final segment in which I will reveal major spoilers about the battle itself, plus high-powered items that you can use to trivialize the fight. Now, as indicated before, to summon the Gaia Guardian, you sneak right-click the beacon with the Terra Steel ingot, and that will summon the Gaia Guardian. Before proceeding, there is a note I should make about the beacon that you use for the ritual. Now, I know the beacon comes with a buff system for the player that during normal circumstances would, in a ranged area, it would give a player additional abilities. However, something to bear in mind, vanilla beacon abilities are disabled in this fight. You won't be able to use the beacon itself for any buffs, which is why you needed the player and arena preparations that I indicated before. But moving on, once the battle has been initiated, you will face a shadow character version of your own player model. And the field around you, I believe it like I stated before, like in a 12 to 15 block radius, you're pretty much trapped in this battle area. I'm pretty sure flight ability is nullified. You will not have that advantage in this fight. And the Gaia Guardian will teleport around, doing ranged attacks on you. And in addition to that, the arena will be littered with patches of purple mist. Standing in these mists are very dangerous. It will give you a bad withering effect. It's my understanding that this effect is worse than the actual wither boss battle itself. So the object will be to avoid these patches and target the Gaia Guardian with melee as best you can. Seemingly impossible at first, but it is actually, you can actually anticipate a little bit the teleport movements of the Gaia Guardian. and move in such a way that you will be able to anticipate where he lands, land in a good attack or two before he teleports again, and it just becomes a rinse and repeat process. Now, the Gaia Guardian has a damage cap on him, i.e. you can only inflict so much damage per strike regardless of how powerful your weapon is. So even having a weapon as powerful as the Draconic Staff of Power, which I got up to 300 attack damage, I hit the Gaia Guardian with this staff and I was only able to inflict 24 damage to him per strike. Don't get me wrong, you'll still need a powerful weapon, but just about any weapon that you choose, you will only be able to inflict so much damage, a small chunk of damage per strike per encounter. That is why I prefer the Manualan Rapier for the fight, because even though it's not as high attack damage, I can get anywhere from 1 to 3 strikes on the Gaia Guardian before he moves again. So to me, it's definitely a more superior weapon for this fight. And you will have to move quickly and intelligently throughout this battle to anticipate his movements and to avoid the patches that I mentioned before. Now, when you get him down to about, I believe it's roughly a quarter of his original health bar, you will face, he'll go into this invincible state where you can't attack him, but he can't attack you either, or at least not directly. What he does is he spawns in a considerable number of mobs to attack you for him. That's where the ability to have a ranged attack becomes in very useful. The Key of King's Law is not bad. It's not my favorite weapon for this particular type of battle, and there is a bit of a it's not, you can't obtain it for the first fight anyway. I'll go into details about that towards the end of the video. The preferred weapon for this fight is the Rod of the Unstable Reservoir. With this will as long as you charge this up like a bow, this will auto-target all mobs and take them out. It's very simple, and it just costs mana, so with adequate mana storage, it's not really an issue. But again, you can't get this without defeating the mana or the Gaia Guardian to begin with. So for the first fight, I prefer a good Tinker's Crossbow, or even a bow would work. Just something, a Manualan, something with Manualan bolts or arrows, arrow, bow, or longbow, modified with haste so that it becomes more rapid fire would definitely serve you well in this fight. But of course also an adequate Wyvern tiered or Draconic tier bow from Draconic Evolution works as well. Once you've made it through this battle sequence, the Gaia Guardian will return to its normal state, and you'll be able to repeat your pattern of anticipating the teleports, moving around, which you can move around and intercept him before he teleports if you utilize the Botania sashes to increase your movement speed. But a combination of these techniques, anticipating and catching up to the Gaia Guardian, once you've entered the second phase of this battle, he'll teleport more quickly. But you'll still be able to catch him, just less infrequently, and you whittle down the last bit of his health until finally you end the fight and you get the drops needed to craft the higher tier items. Now, on to items that will, well, more or less trivialize the battle. As you might have guessed on your own, the Wyvern and Draconic tier armors will make it to where you take hardly any damage or no damage. I think this even makes you immune to the withering effect of the mist. Citation needed on that. And there's a reason I don't know that, actually. I've never faced him in this armor set because I utilized another item. This is probably the best item in the pack for facing the Gaia Guardian, and is this one, the Witherless Rose from Reliquary. This makes it to where your character does not take wither damage. So if you have this in your inventory, you've nullified probably the biggest advantage that Gaia Guardian has. With this in your inventory, you can completely ignore the purple mist patches and focus solely on catching up and inflicting damage to the Guardian. But, you know, again, for a more difficult battle experience, just don't have this in your inventory. But it's definitely an item worth having. Otherwise, the Key of King's Law, I mentioned before, is a good ranged weapon. For this battle, not as good as this one, but the thing you have to remember about both of these is these are unobtainable until you've defeated the Gaia Guardian. This one you have to defeat the Gaia Guardian once to obtain. This one, however, involves a degree of luck. It also involves not facing the Gaia Guardian 1.0, but facing the Gaia Guardian 2.0. There's actually a second level boss to this fight. The first one you encounter by, as stated before, using the Terrasteel ingot on the beacon. If you defeated the Gaia Guardian 1.0, you can craft what's called a Gaia Spirit ingot. Right-clicking on the beacon with this ingot will give you the second version of this boss, which his behavior is pretty much the same. He's just got more health and is a little bit faster. Definitely a more difficult fight. But the reward is worth it. You get more drops, more Gaia spirits than the 1.0 version. You also get what's called a Dice of Fate. If you roll this Dice of Fate, you have a chance to get, well, nothing at all, but 1 of 6 legendary relics from the Botania mod, which is kind of the reason you'd want to face the Gaia Guardian to begin with. One of those items is the Key of King's Law. It's a very, very fun ranged weapon. Does not damage blocks, but absolutely wrecks players and mobs, like so. Oh yeah, that's a very, very fun weapon. One thing I mentioned I also wanted to bring up is scalability using multiple players. If you have Meatypack on a server, the Gaia Guardian gets a health bonus and difficulty bonus for every player on the server at the time you spawn him. So you can't cheese the battle by throwing more bodies at him, so to speak. The Vasky actually thought of that, and he becomes considerably harder when there's multiple players on the server. So bear that in mind too. But that also makes it a fun boss to fight in a group setting. So definitely keep these details in mind. That pretty much concludes my video. I hope I was helpful in your Gaia Guardian battle preparation. If you have any additional items or features you'd like to see covered, if you have suggestions for other hint or tutorial videos, feel free to message me via Discord or leave me a video comment. Everyone, have a good day.